I flung my diamond ring and smashed it into the scumbag's face. 3 days later I married his sworn enemy and drove him insane. A very pregnant Brielle knelt in the middle of the ballroom, gazing up at my fiancé through a sheen of tears. Julian, the baby's almost here. You promised you'd marry me. Her tears fell like pear blossoms in spring rain. He didn't deny it. He only said coldly, "What are you doing here? Didn't I tell you to stay home?" 500 pairs of eyes swiveled toward us, whispers rippled like gossip-fueled electricity. Miss Moore, I'm willing to be your concubine, a modern two-wives arrangement. You'd be the legal wife, I'd be the side room, please? Brielle's offer detonated the room. I slid off the pigeon egg-sized solitaire and, in front of everyone, hurled it into Julian's face. I, Scarlett, would rather die alone than wed a piece of garbage like you. Scarlett, stop right there. Julian barked, humiliation flaming his cheeks. Without me you're nothing. Who'd want a worn-out shoe like you? I paused, glanced back, and smiled like frost. Julian, one day you'll kneel and beg my forgiveness. 3 days later, I married his mortal rival, Adrian. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. 1. The champagne tower at my engagement dinner crashed in front of me. Crystal flutes shattered across the marble, just like my heart in splinters. 500 guests stared as one toward the entrance. There stood Brielle, belly swollen. She'd been Julian's assistant, now she was clearly the mother of his child. Julian. She cradled her bump, eyes shimmering, the baby's coming soon. You said you'd marry me. Dead silence. I clutched my champagne flute until my knuckles blanched. 3 years of dating, 6 months engaged, today was supposed to be the happiest of my life. Julian's face darkened. He strode toward her. I thought he would explain, deny, claim it was all a misunderstanding. Instead he only muttered, "Why did you come?" I told you to wait at home. Not a denial, just annoyance at her timing. Julian, I'm scared. Brielle wept theatrically. The doctor says I might hemorrhage. If I die, our child will have no father. Julian pinched the bridge of his nose. Stop the melodrama. Go home and wait. Below the dais, guests began murmuring. What's going on? The sterling heir keeps a mistress? The Moore heiress gets cuckolded at her own engagement? My cheeks burned as if slapped. Brielle refused to quit. Julian, you promised once the baby arrived you'd wed me. Since Miss Moore is here, let's settle it tonight. She actually dropped to her knees. Miss Moore, I know I'm in the wrong, but I truly love Julian. This child is innocent. Please, let us be together. I'll be your concubine, a modern one-husband two-wives deal. You the principal wife, I the secondary, okay? The room erupted. I heard gasps, curses, the faint click of phones recording. Julian's complexion was chalk. He returned to my side and hissed, Scarlett, ignore her theatrics. I'll handle it. I stared at him as if seeing a stranger. Handle it how? Force her to abort, or expect me to welcome your little trio? Scarlett, listen, no need. I tugged off the 8-figure solitaire and smashed it into his cheek. Julian, I, Scarlett, would remain single forever before marrying scum like you. Engagement off. I spun away, stilettos crunching over broken crystal. Behind me Julian barked, Scarlett, freeze. Without me you're zero. Who'd touch a sloppy leftover like you? I halted, looked back. Julian, one day you'll kneel and beg my forgiveness. With that I left the nauseating scene without a backward glance. Brielle's triumphant giggle trailed me. Julian, now it's just us, two. When I reached the shared apartment Julian and I had prepared, the smart lock system refused my fingerprint. The security guard looked pained. Miss Moore, Rowan instructed us she've moved out. The new resident is Brielle. Swift work, Julian. I speed-dialed him, he picked up after an eternity. Scarlett, come to your senses? Smugness oozed. I knew you couldn't leave me. Julian, get my belongings out here. Belongings? Those ragged clothes? Already trashed. Oh, and your mother's vintage sapphire necklace, I gave it to Brielle, she adores it. My hand shook violently. That necklace was Mom's last gift, the one thing I treasured above all. Julian, you wouldn't dare. Try me. He sneered. After 3 years with me, you think you're still pristine? Nobody else will touch you. Crawl back and apologize, and I might forgive you. As for Brielle, treat her like the nanny, she births the kid and minds it. You're barren anyway, so she's doing you a favor. In the background Brielle cooed, Julian, don't be cruel, Miss Moore is pitiful enough. True, Julian laughed viciously. An almost 30 has-been with nothing but family money. Looks? Inferior. Body? Worse. In bed, I hung up and powered the phone off. Outside the Sterling Tower, I realized I was homeless. The Moore mansion was too vast, too hollow. After my parents died, I couldn't breathe there alone, hence moving in with Julian. Now that decision crowned my life's stupidest mistake. 3. I hailed a cab to the Grand Hotel. En route, Sophie called, Scarlett, are you okay? Your engagement fiasco is everywhere. Julian is sewage. I'm fine, I lied, swallowing tears. Just drained. Where are you? I'll come right now. Not necessary. I need silence. I disconnected and leaned back. 3 years, what had I seen in Julian? Handsome? Wealthy? Talented in bed? In hindsight, he could only sweet talk. What else? Every Moore Sterling deal had funneled the bigger slice to them, and I'd stupidly credited love. Only now did I realize I'd been played for the world's biggest sucker. The car stopped in front of the Grand. I'd barely stepped out when a familiar silhouette cut through the revolving doors. Adrian, black suit, black tie, ink-dark hair, stood on the red-carpeted steps. Surprise flicked through his eyes when he saw me. Miss Moore. I tipped my chin. Adrian. To the Sterlings he was public enemy number 1. To Moore Industries he was the partner who kept our balance sheets breathing. Riverdale's favorite billionaire bachelor, 32, net worth north of $100 billion, and handsome enough to stop traffic. If the traffic dared brave the glacier he called a personality, I heard today was rough. A sour laugh escaped me. Rough? I publicly combusted. Need help? Dad's voice floated back. Scarlett, the day Julian doesn't deserve you, go to Adrian. Cold, yes, but the man's solid steel underneath. I'd rolled my eyes then. Turns out steel is exactly what you want when your world collapses. Adrian, can we talk? He flicked his cuff, Rolex flashing. I've got time. We took a corner table in the lobby cafe. I didn't touch the leather menu. I want a deal, I said. What kind? Take the Sterlings down. Interest sharpened his gaze. Personal or corporate? Both. Julian skimmed half our margins for years, then humiliated me on every screen from here to Wall Street. I'm done. And my role? I inhaled. Marry me. He almost inhaled his espresso. Repeat that? A strategic marriage. Hawthorne Group needs old money legitimacy, I need firepower. 1 year, paper only, then we part friends. Interested? A full minute of silence. Finally he extended his hand. Welcome aboard, future Mrs. Hawthorne. 3 days later we signed the certificate. When the news broke, Julian was in Serenity holding Brielle's hand through her postpartum quinoa cleanse. Word as he trashed an entire luxury suite. Damn it, Scarlett actually went through with it. Brielle dabbed crocodile tears. Julian, maybe they were together long before. How else do you marry in 72 hours? Shut it. He wheeled on her. You crashed our engagement party. Now she's gone and you think I'll, what, parade you as consolation prize? But you promised. I promised to provide. Not to marry. He yanked at his hair, suddenly seeing the crater where Moore Industries used to sit. Moore controlled 1/3 of Sterling's supply contracts. Now those contracts belonged to Adrian's wife. Julian stabbed my number. A robotic voice answered, the number you have reached is no longer in service. He stormed out of Serenity, tires shrieking toward the Moore estate. Adrian and I were mapping termination dates on the living room carpet when the butler appeared. Scarlett, Rowan is here. Tell him I'm dead. I didn't look up. Let him in, Adrian said quietly. Let's hear the exit speech. Julian barged in, pulled up short at the sight of Adrian's arm around my waist. You actually married him? Problem? I leaned into Adrian's shoulder. You called me used goods. Congratulations, goods acquired. You, words failed him. Adrian's voice could freeze bourbon. Rowan, you're trespassing in my wife's home. Wife. Julian sneered. We both know this is a boardroom stunt. Scarlett, you think wedding your enemy hurts me? You'll be the collateral damage. I rose, crossed the rug, and slapped him so hard the chandelier seemed to tinkle. That's for my mother's vintage sapphire necklace she gave Brielle. Second slap, backhand. That's for 3 years of lies. His cheek blazed crimson, but Adrian's calm froze him in place. You'll regret this, Julian hissed. Adrian's using you to gut Sterling. Maybe, I said, but he'll never ask me to share his bed with his pregnant mistress. Next month every more Sterling contract sunsets, I added. We'll pay the breach of contract penalties out of petty cash. Color drained from his face. You're bluffing. That's billions. Billions I have. Dignity I'm reclaiming. Adrian flicked 2 fingers. Bodyguards flanked Julian, escorted him to the curb. I exhaled years of gravel from my lungs. That felt therapeutic. Adrian poured 2 fingers of scotch, handed me the crystal tumbler. To partnership. I clinked, warmth blooming where ice had been. 30 days in, the tabloids still branded Adrian the tycoon who hates sunlight. They clearly hadn't seen him sorting my artisanal coffee pods by roast date. He banned parsley from the chef's mise en place because I disliked the taste, left quinoa banana muffins on my desk at 2 a.m. when earnings calls ran long, and stocked a thermos of brown sugar ginger tea the week I curled around a heating pad. One Thursday night I stretched under the cashmere throw, reality TV blaring. He set a mug of warm milk beside me. Why the royal treatment? I asked. He shrugged. Contract states, husband shall maintain wife's operational efficiency. Business. I tried to ignore the ridiculous twinge in my chest and focused on the screen, where a dating show contestant was being fed to social media wolves. Adrian's reflection lingered in the glass, unreadable. Maybe glaciers melt, just know where the cameras can see. Over the past month, Julian had bombarded me with messages, starting with furious accusations, then spiraling into desperate pleas. Scarlett, I know I messed up. Please come back, okay? I've cut Brielle off. I don't even want the baby. I'm begging you, just give me one more chance. I deleted every one without reading. Brielle, on the other hand, rang me every few days, sobbing. Miss Moore, Julian doesn't want me anymore. He says it's all my fault he lost you. Miss Moore, please forgive Julian. He really loves you. Miss Moore, I'll leave Riverdale, just reconcile with him. Listening to her bawl was almost funny. Miss Hayes, you've got the wrong number. Take it up with Julian, not me. But Julian says if you forgive him, he'll marry me. I snorted. Still shameless as ever. Miss Hayes, give it up. A man's word, especially Julian's, is worth less than air. I hung up. Next morning Sophie burst in. Scarlett, disaster. What? Brielle jumped off the balcony. I froze. Come again? Last night, 3rd floor of Serenity. She's in emergency surgery. Julian's rampaging through the hospital screaming you drove her to it. I frowned. Nonsense. Online it's already viral. Rich heiress drives pregnant mistress to suicide. I checked the trending chart. Number 1 slot, Dynasty Princess drives mistress to jump. The comment section was a bloodbath. Money means you can bully a pregnant girl? Julian's trash, but Scarlett's no saint. Old money drama, great show, shame about the baby. A cold laugh escaped me. Julian really would stop at nothing. I'm going to the hospital. Are you insane? Sophie grabbed my arm. The media's circling. You'll walk straight into their net. If I stay away, I'm basically confessing to murder. At the hospital the moment Julian spotted me his eyes went scarlet. You viper. Brielle's an angel, how could you hound her to her death? Onlookers started whispering, that's her, the Moore heiress. Looks gentle, but she's pure ice. Rich brats treat lives like disposable napkins. I ignored the murmurs and stared Julian down. Rowan, get your facts straight. I've had 0 direct contact with Miss Hayes. Why she jumped, you know better than anyone. Yesterday, when she phoned me, you were right there, weren't you? I advanced a step. Exactly what did you say? Refresh your memory. Julian's face drained of color. I lifted my phone and tapped the voice memo. Everyone, judge for yourselves. Brielle's call to me yesterday. Brielle's sobs filled the corridor, overlaid with Julian's snarls. Stop bawling, you bitch. You're the reason Scarlett dumped me. I told you I wouldn't marry you, yet you insisted on keeping the kid. Now Scarlett's married someone else. Happy? The hallway fell dead silent. Julian looked like a corpse. That's doctored. Doctored? I sneered. Be my guest, Rowan. Send it for forensic analysis. See if a single millisecond's been altered. I pivoted toward the crowd. The truth's simple, Miss Hayes jumped because Julian threw her away. It has nothing to do with me. Don't let yourselves be pawns in a smear campaign. Furthermore, I reserve the right to sue anyone who continues to slander me. Before the words finished echoing, a commotion erupted farther down the corridor. Miss Hayes is awake. We reached the room. Brielle lay frail against the pillows. Julian rushed to clutch her hand. Brielle, thank God you're back. It's my fault, I never should have treated you like that. Brielle glanced at him, then at me, and whispered, Julian, don't blame Miss Moore. What? I jumped because I couldn't cope. Miss Moore had nothing to do with it. Brielle's voice was paper thin. She was right, a man's promise means nothing. You said you loved me, but you never planned to marry me. You vowed responsibility, then turned your back the instant our baby arrived. Brielle, it's over, Julian. She shut her eyes. I'm exhausted. Julian stood frozen, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Watching, I tasted every bitter flavor at once. Brielle played the mistress, yet in the end she was just another girl broken by the same man. The real villain was Julian. 7. Once the suicide uproar subsided, the Sterling family's fortune slid downhill fast. First Moore Industries terminated every joint project, then one blue-chip partner after another pulled funding. Only then did Julian realize Adrian wasn't bluffing. He fully intended to bankrupt the Sterlings. Dad, what do we do? Julian prowled the Sterling living room. At this rate we'll file for bankruptcy before fall. Old Rowan's complexion turned granite. You sowed this. You tossed aside the Moore heiress for a mistress. Now you've unleashed Adrian on us. Lectures won't help. We need a fix. Fix? The only lifeline is if you win Scarlett back, otherwise we're finished. Gritting his teeth, Julian muttered, I'll find her. Rowan's cold laugh said what we both knew. I refused to see Julian. But Julian located my weak spot all the same. I was mid-meeting at Moore HQ when my secretary burst in. CEO Moore, trouble. Julian's downstairs with a pack of reporters. I arched a brow. What stunt now? He's on his knees apologizing, begging your forgiveness. Foot traffic's jammed, security can barely hold the doors. A humorless smile tugged at me. Julian was weaponizing public pity. Sure enough, when I reached the lobby he knelt on the marble, a megaphone at his feet. Scarlett, I was wrong. Please forgive me, give me one last chance. I swear, you're the only woman I'll ever want. 3 years together, Scarlett, you can't throw that away. Spectators murmured, who's the guy? Sterling heir, her ex. Kneeling like that? Kinda romantic. Miss Moore is so heartless, she won't even spare him a glance. The reporters' lenses kept firing like artillery. I knew that if I didn't step out today, tomorrow's headlines would scream, old money heiress heartless as ex begs on his knees. Once the media tide turned, I'd be cast as the villainess. Julian, you really are despicable. I drew a long breath and walked through the front doors. The instant he saw me, triumph flashed in Julian's eyes, though his face still wore a mask of pain. Scarlett, you finally agreed to see me. Julian, enough. I stared at him coldly. This is my company, not your stage for theatrics. Scarlett, I know you still love me, otherwise you wouldn't have come out. His shamelessness stunned me. Julian, where do you get this confidence? Because I know you. He rose, trying to close the distance. Scarlett, what we had was real. You can't just erase it overnight. Besides, he suddenly raised his voice, your marriage to Adrian is nothing but a business deal. There's zero love between you. The onlookers gasped. A strategic marriage? So this is how the elite operate. Then Julian still has a shot. I watched his performance with icy detachment, calculating my countermove. Just then a black Maserati purred to a halt at the curb. Adrian stepped out and came straight to me. Without even glancing Julian's way, he slid an arm naturally around my waist. Ready to go home, sweetheart? His voice was soft, nothing like his usual chill. I blinked, then played along. Just about to leave. Let's go. He brushed a light kiss across my forehead. The crowd cooed, so sweet. Now that's true love. Adrian adores his wife. Julian's face twisted. Adrian, stop the act. I know this marriage is fake. Adrian finally looked at him, gaze sub-zero. Rowan, back away from my wife. Your wife? Julian sneered. She loves me. You're just a stand-in. Really? Adrian gave a faint smile. Then how am I doing in the role? He scooped me up in a bridal lift, right there on the sidewalk. Ah. I yelped, instinctively looping my arms around his neck. Let's go home, sweetheart. He carried me to the car, leaving Julian alone in the wind. Inside the Maserati, my heart was still racing. Thank you, I said, a little embarrassed. That could have turned ugly. Happy to help. He kept his eyes on the road. Though Julian's right, our marriage is fake. My heart sank for no reason. Yeah. Fake, but. He shot me a sideways glance. Who says fake can't turn real? I was struck speechless. Adrian let the topic drop, and silence settled, delicate and electric. Julian's kneeling stunt wasn't the end. Next morning I got a call from Moore's CFO. Miss Moore, we have a crisis. The Sterling's breach of contract penalties aren't fully paid, and a new bombshell just hit. What kind? Someone leaked online that you abused your position to squeeze partners, and that you and Adrian are rigging the market together. Any proof? None solid, but it's trending. Federal regulators are sniffing around. I hung up and opened my feed. Sure enough, every site claimed Adrian and I had orchestrated Sterling's collapse. The comment section was a war zone. The rich play by their own rules. Scarlett and Adrian are vultures. Poor Sterling family, destroyed by this power couple. I smirked. Julian was lashing out like a cornered rat. Since pleading hadn't worked, he'd gone for slander. See the news? Adrian asked, descending the stairs, perfectly calm. Seen it. I set my phone down. Sorry you're caught in the crossfire. Caught? He raised a brow. We're husband and wife. We rise or fall together. I knew it was just lines, yet warmth flickered in my chest. Still, he said, dropping beside me, we can't let this slide. If Julian wants guerrilla tactics, I'll show him real corporate warfare. What do you have in mind? His grin was razor sharp. Time he learned what a real ambush looks like. That afternoon the Business Channel broke a bombshell. Sterling Group suspected of cooking books, multiple projects under federal probe. Next came word that every overseas venture the Sterlings had bankrolled had imploded. Worse, their lenders suddenly demanded early repayment, $5 billion due at once. Overnight Sterling stock hit the skids, half its market value wiped out. Julian stormed to our gate, the security guard blocked him. Scarlett. Adrian. Show yourselves, you bastards. From the second-floor balcony I watched, unmoved. Want to let him in? Adrian asked, appearing at my side. No. I shook my head. Let him rant. We're not the ones losing face. You've changed, Coo, he caught himself. Scarlett, what? The old you would have been kinder, less ruthless. I gave a faint laugh. One betrayal is all it takes to grow up. Adrian said nothing, he simply took my hand. His palm was warm, steadying. Down below Julian's curses faded as the guard hauled him off. Scarlett, there's something you should know. Adrian's voice was quiet. What? I met you earlier than you think. I looked at him, puzzled. We were at the same university. You probably don't remember. I searched my memory and came up blank. Back then you laughed a lot, always in white sundresses, like some campus fairy. His tone was soft, almost dreamy. I crushed on you for 4 straight years, but I never found the guts to speak up. I stared, stunned. You liked me? Yes. He turned, eyes tender in a way I'd never seen. So when you proposed the alliance, I said yes in a heartbeat, because this was the only chance I had to call you mine. My heart was racing, my mind went blank. But why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I was afraid. He gave a self-mocking laugh. Afraid that once you knew the truth you'd refuse the marriage, afraid you'd think I was taking advantage of your crisis. I stared at him, speechless. Mrs. Hawthorne, I'm not asking you to love me, only to give me a chance to take care of you. When he finished, he let go of my hand and turned to leave. I grabbed his arm. Wait. He stopped, but didn't turn around. Adrian, you idiot. My voice cracked. Who says I don't remember you? He spun around, eyes wide with disbelief. The guy in the back row at the library, always sneaking glances, always buying me coffee. I smiled through my tears. You thought I never noticed? Then why? Because I was young. I punched his chest. Thought studying was everything, romance was a waste of time. By the time I figured it out, you'd already gone abroad. Adrian stared at me, stunned, until he finally found his voice. So, you felt it too? I liked you, I said, cheeks burning. From college on. The next second he pulled me into a tight embrace. No, Xin. His voice trembled. I've waited 10 years for this day, so have I. 11. With real feelings beneath us, married life turned sweet. Adrian quit playing the stone-faced tycoon and started acting spoiled in front of me. Babe, was I good today? Babe, I want your cooking tonight. Babe, when are we having a baby? The last question made my cheeks burn, but my heart felt syrupy. Yet the sweetness didn't last long. Julian stirred trouble again. This time he went straight to abduction. I'd stepped out of a charity auction when several men forced me into a car. I woke in an abandoned warehouse, wrists bound. Julian sat opposite me, eyes wild. Scarlet, finally awake. Julian, have you lost your mind? I struggled against the rope. Abduction is a felony. A felony? He laughed. I've got nothing left to lose. You ruined me, both of you. He leapt up, hysterical. Scarlet, Adrian, you pair of bastards wrecked my life. You dug your own grave, who can you blame? I gave him a cold stare. If you'd honored our engagement instead of cheating, would you be here now? What's the point of talking? He glared. If I can't have you, no one will. He pulled a knife from his coat. What are you doing? My stomach clenched. Dying together. His grin was terrifying. We'll die together, and Adrian will never have you. Julian, calm down. I fought to stay steady. Killing me gains you nothing. No gain, but I'll enjoy it. He raised the knife. I shut my eyes, bracing for the blade. The warehouse door burst open. Stop. Adrian rushed in, cops right behind him. Julian only grew more frantic. Perfect timing, Adrian. Watch your wife die. He thrust the knife toward me. At the last heartbeat Adrian dove between us, shielding me with his body. Thud. The blade sank into his shoulder, blood soaked his shirt. Adrian! I screamed. Police pinned Julian down, paramedics stormed in. 12. I sat outside the OR, tears streaming. He'll be fine, his assistant said. It's just the shoulder. No vital damage. It's my fault. I sniffed. If not for me, he wouldn't be hurt. Don't say that. You're what matters most to him. 3 hours later the surgeon emerged, no life in danger, but the gash was deep, weeks of rest were mandatory. Looking at his pale face, my chest ached. I'm sorry. I clasped his hand. I got you into this. He smiled weakly. Silly, we're married, protecting you is my job. But, no buts. He lifted his other hand to wipe my tears. Xin, promise me you won't cry anymore. Okay. I nodded. No more tears. And his voice softened. I love you. At those 3 words the tears spilled again. I love you too. Julian got 10 years for abduction and aggravated assault. In court he looked haggard, all arrogance gone. I'll get you, Scarlet, he snarled as officers dragged him out. I'll wait in prison, wait to see your downfall. I watched him go, unmoved. He'd finally earned his dues. The Sterlings filed for bankruptcy, and Rowan had a stroke over the scandal and was hospitalized. Brielle, rumor said, fled home with her baby and vanished. It was over. Adrian healed fast, the cast came off in a month. Wifey, I'm all better, don't I deserve a reward? He teased. What kind of reward? I played innocent. Maybe, a kiss? I rose on tiptoe and brushed his lips. Too light. He pouted. I want the real thing. He bent and kissed me, soft, deep, melting. Wifey, let's make a baby, he whispered against my forehead. Right now? Right now. The end. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please hit like and share with friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. See you next time.